It's just because I purely at the core of my heart love what I do for these ideas. And that's why I do it. Otherwise, I feel like I would have given up 5 years ago.
Anushka, thank you for joining me here today on the Go at Manav. For those that do not know you, could you please tell them a bit more about yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. Very excited to speak to you today. My name is Anushka Purohit. I grew up in Hong Kong, very proud Hong Konger, and because of that, I'm able to speak 5 languages, which include Cantonese and Mandarin. Growing up in Hong Kong, I was the third culture kid because ethnically I'm Indian, but I always felt like because I didn't grow up in India, I get to meet so many people and try to make the most of those opportunities. I studied electronic and computer engineering in university. And while I did that, I had the chance to explore what entrepreneurship means and try and create a few different initiatives of my own. So I started off with Breer, which is a food upcycling startup where we collect bread that usually goes to waste and turn it into local craft beer. But since then have also gone on to launch a travel app called StayK. I also most recently launched a cosmetics brand called Ssome Cosmetics, also in the sustainability space. And now, kind of like a fun side hustle, is that I like to bring Bollywood movies to Hong Kong. So a little bit of dappling my feet into anything and everything I can.
I cannot wait to learn more about you as we go through this podcast episode journey. But first, as people may know this, I love to go back in time with my podcast guests just to learn a bit more about who you were before you became the person that you are today. So as you mentioned, Anushka, you are a proud Hong Konger. Could you please tell us what was it like being born and raised in Hong Kong? Because I was also born and raised in Hong Kong, but I'm curious to hear from your point of view.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the first bit is I wasn't actually born in Hong Kong. So I'm one of those weird outlier cases where I was born in India and then within 2 months of me being born, I was already in Hong Kong. So it's more like a formality thing. But growing up in Hong Kong, I feel like was the best case scenario for me because I also am another outlier in that I went to both a local and international school. So I started off the formative years of my schooling in what we call local schools, where they're traditionally more Chinese ethnicity or Chinese nationality students. There's a lot more exposure to just the Chinese culture. And then right at the cusp of my secondary school education, I switched to, like we were speaking earlier, RCHK. So then had the more international exposure and understood international curricula. And so I think I got the best of both worlds. I got to take from each what they're both good at. And I think overall that made me become a more holistic and well-rounded person. I'm always very curious to learn about different cultures, learn about how different people live, what they like, what they don't like, what traditions they follow, what they don't follow. So it just made me very, very inquisitive.
And when it came to choosing university for you, and fast forward to 18, Anushka, did you want to stay in Hong Kong or did you want to go abroad university? And how did you make that decision?
I actually did want to stay in Hong Kong just because I knew that being in university, you also have the opportunity to go on exchange or go explore the world via education. And so I thought I would do that. It felt like there was a part of me that didn't fully maximize like the Hong Kong education system, given I switched between schools, given I switched between local and international. So I think part of me was like, let's stay here. Any reason to stay close to home, stay near or in that comfort zone was kind of what I was looking at. And so while I did stay in Hong Kong, I actually did do a stint of exchange at UC Berkeley in the US. So that was my taste of international education.
And was it when you went to UC Berkeley, was this your first time living abroad?
Yes, in like a long term sense, because before that I'd only been on like vacation or stuff like that. So, in the sense that I had to find a place to stay and was there for more than 2, 3 months, yes, it was my first experience.
What sort of internship and opportunities, I mean, did you take part in during your university life? I mean, pre and during university?
Yeah, I mean, community service had always been something I was very passionate about. I think I stopped doing it for the mandatory, you have to do these many hours of service, but did it purely because it gave me that drive and energy that I wasn't necessarily finding in the otherwise school day. And, anyone who went to school with me will probably remember this. I had like some crazy amount of hours of community service purely because I really enjoyed all the different activities we had on offer. I was very active with a local NGO called Kids for Kids, which was all about bringing kids together from relatively more privileged backgrounds to create opportunities for those who unfortunately aren't from those backgrounds. So it, very much resonated with my ethos of operation generally. So I was involved with them for a very long time. I also led a lot of on-campus initiatives, so started a lot of projects and clubs of my own, including elderly home visits. But that was all like pre-university. Once I was in university, I kind of switched gears in my head. I was like, I want to just make friends from India because I didn't have that much exposure. I wanted to just have fun and like chill out. And so my first year of university, which ended up becoming my only actual physical in-person year at university, I was just doing things, with a grain of salt, trying different things, literally just dabbling in everything and anything. And that's actually how the whole Breer concept began, because I went for the briefing session of the Enactus Social Innovation Competition, and realized, oh, like this is kind of fun. But thereon, second, third, and fourth year of uni was online, first because of the Hong Kong protests, and then because of COVID. So I think that fully changed my realm of what it means to be involved in community service, or what it means to be involved in like any initiatives as a whole.
Yeah, I just figured out. I mean, I was in the UK during when the whole protest things were happening and COVID as well. I cannot imagine being in Hong Kong. I only remember the harsh restriction rules coming back and having to go to Penny Bay at one point because I did catch COVID in the hotel situation. But I'm very curious to know, Anushka, with the whole Breer concept, for people listening right now, how would you describe Breer in simple terms? And do you remember when you realized I wanted to pursue this, entrepreneurship path?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, put simply, how I would describe Breer is we collect food that would otherwise go to waste and turn it into beer and then sell the beer. So we've done anything and everything from pineapple buns, egg tarts, egg waffles, coffee grounds. So like a whole myriad of different raw materials. When I realized I wanted to do this, actually, I think I'm very different in that I didn't kind of have this huge, I want to be an entrepreneur, like I want to build a business of my own kind of buzz when I was growing up. I had a very quote unquote traditional path in my mind where I was like, I want to study engineering. After I study engineering, I want to figure out what skills I have, or like what interests me, and then go into a job that harnesses those skills and interests. But then Breer happened in the beginning as a happy accident. But I think when I realized like I needed to start taking this seriously and, put two and two together, is when we started to have people paying us to buy our beers. I think when people's hard earned money comes into play, you have 150% responsibility to make sure it's the best possible product for them, because it's not just a mere student startup anymore. It's not just for fun anymore. And so I think it was after we started getting like our first few sales, our first few partnerships, that I was like, okay, this is something serious. Maybe I need to focus.
How would you describe the journey in terms of what's it been like just having Breer, something you're so passionate about? How do you describe it so far? Has it been like 5 years since you've launched it? 4 or 5 years?
Yeah, it's been 5 years. I would say it's a roller coaster. There's been so much I've taken away from it, so much that's happened in front of the scenes, so much that's happened behind the scenes, beyond the scenes, even. And so I think it's just been a really, really great learning journey. I think it's one of those things where you come in not having any answers, and then slowly by slowly you uncarve a lot of what you should do, what you shouldn't do. And the best part is there isn't always going to be the right answer. So whatever you do, you just have to take that as gospel and move ahead with that decision already being made. So there's a lot of adapting. But I would say the biggest thing for me was, I think I grew a lot from the Breer experience personally. Maybe less so professionally, but personally, understanding what it's like to manage people dynamics, understanding what it's like to prioritize things for the business over what seems easier to do, understanding what it means to have a mission, and then actually staying true to the mission no matter how hard things get or how high the tides are. So I think it was for me more a personal growth journey than one that was professional.
How do you describe being a young entrepreneur so far in your career?
I think it's a lot of fun. I think it's actually, there's some spark or spunk to the fact that people think you don't know as much because you're a little bit younger, but then you come up and you're like, actually, I know that stuff. And then they just take you seriously. Or better yet, you let your actions speak louder than the words that you say. And so I think it's been a fun journey of understanding what I know, navigating stakeholder relationships. We work with one of the oldest and largest bread manufacturers in the city. So that's a group that has had many, many, many more years of experience than I've been on this planet. And so just understanding how they operate, what they do, learning from their experience, but at the same time holding my own, given we started this and there's nothing about it that we wouldn't know. So it's about creating that dynamic and understanding both sides and the psyches that are involved in decision making.
Very cool. And this could be based on your experience with Breer or overall in your career journey so far. Could you please tell us a particularly challenging moment where you've just grown a lot from it? Because you're talking about growth, how you grew from, you know, Breer personally, but would you say there's been a key experience within Breer or within your career journey that's allowed you to also just further grow?
Yeah, I think the biggest growth that I had was realizing sometimes that the team that you make may not always be there forever. And so navigating those dynamics, one of my biggest learnings was I was doing this with three friends from university. So navigating the personal and professional blurred line was pretty interesting for me, knowing conversations that happen for the business stay for the business, and then conversations that happen beyond or for your relationships beyond. I think one that was interesting is we started off as a team of four with Breer, and now we're a team of two. So navigating that entire journey, going from four to two, especially when money's involved, when there's a cap table, when there are other customers involved. So making sure you're not harnessing that equation into any of those relationships, keeping that aside, but at the same time focusing on this because it is important for the business. I think that was tough. So for me, working with friends turned business partners was a big learning.
Do you recommend working with your friends?
Tough question. I would say it could be friends, it couldn't be friends, but I think everybody should really, really consider who is a part of your team and why they're the best person to be a part of your team. Like being a fun person and being fun to spend time with honestly isn't enough. They need to bring added complementary skills that are very tangible to the table, and only then is it worth it. So I think it's more about evaluating who it is and what they do as opposed to just who it is.
Okay. That's completely fair enough. So currently, Anushka, you're in your journey in your 20s right now. How has that been so far? Obviously, when we're in our career journeys, we always reflect professionally, and sometimes we forget we're also growing personally as well as people. You know, in your 20s, everyone's telling us, be spontaneous. Just this is the time to do whatever you want. So, how has that been for you?
It's been exactly that, being super spontaneous, doing what I want. I think to your point, these years, these formative years of your life, they never come back. And when you don't have as much responsibility, you don't have people reliant on you, I think it gives you a lot of freedom and open space to just explore the world and see what it has to offer. So my last maybe 2 to 3, 2.5 years have been super opening, eye-opening, experience opening in the sense that I got to travel to many different parts of the world, see how people live. And I think that made me very curious about what's beyond this little bubble of Hong Kong that I called home for so long. And so earlier this year, I kind of popped that bubble. In 2022, I lived in Singapore for a year, again, went away from Hong Kong. Now I'm more like in the US, exploring things here. So it really has just been about packing my bag, going to the other side of the world, tough as may it be, figuring out how to make things work, and then hopefully learning enough to then eventually, maybe tail end of my 20s or early 30s, find out where I want home, or maybe what the concept of home for me is. I don't believe home needs to be a place, but it can just be like a little bit of a setup that you have that brings you comfort. So just working towards that.
Good answer. I was actually now going to ask, would you consider Hong Kong home?
I think home is actually where my family is. I've realized now because 100% asked me like a year ago, even January this year, I'd be like, yeah, Hong Kong is home. But now, since I've not been there and since my family has also started jumping around and frankly doing what they love, I realized that Hong Kong isn't home anymore. It's where my family is, and I'll just make that home. So as long as the people I love are in a specific place, that place would just be home for me.
Yeah, that's completely the same with me. I mean, I've been living in the UK for the past 6 years and my family's in Hong Kong. So it's more like Hong Kong will always be home just because that's where, my family is, cousins. I was born and raised there, lived there for 18 years. Obviously, life is a journey. As I'm also in my 20s right now, it's kind of like navigating everything. And like you said, this is the time we have. Do you have any regrets in your 20s so far?
No, I'm very big on making sure I don't have regrets. Maybe something I
Nice.
do won't be like the best case scenario or the best decision in the moment, and it'll bring me a little bit of like a stressful or like an angsty feeling. But I just don't want to live a life where I think to myself 5 or 6 years ago and I'm like, crap, like maybe I should have done that. Or like, dang it, why didn't I just do that? What would life be like now? I just don't want to have that if.
Yeah, totally. And this kind of leads on to my next question. And that is, Anushka, how do you tend to put yourself out there? And this could be personally or professionally.
I think it's just about carving those opportunities for you. I think putting yourself out there can be online. I'm literally an open book on social media. Like I feel like if something's going up on my social media, it should be something I'm comfortable with anyone and everyone in the world seeing. Otherwise, it shouldn't be on there. Professionally, again, my LinkedIn open book. I just like to share everything. I also am a big, big believer of using what you have to open doors for others. So for me, if I can help someone get a conversation with person A, or if I can help someone get access to an opportunity because I had access to it, I'll be more than happy to do it. And I don't see it as a transaction. For me, it's the world is your oyster and everybody should maximize opportunities they get. And I think this is something I took on specifically because in the Indian culture, everyone for some reason feels like you're all fighting each other and you're not all competing on the same side of the team, which really irked me growing up because everyone would say one thing to you and then behind your back say 10 plus one things. And so I think
Yeah.
I just wanted to challenge that notion and be like, no, like literally, we are one of the world's most populous nations. If all of us can just be on the same side and start supporting each other, there's literally no reason why we cannot become a superpower country if we aren't already. And so I think just to challenge that notion, I deliberately try and where I can, give advice or give help or just lend a pair of ears to hear.
I love that. It's so nice to hear people, who, especially entrepreneurs, in a way where it's supporting each other's businesses, or it's that's saying that every 1 in 5 people you can, reach to someone. Have you heard of
Yeah,
that?
yeah.
Yeah, like the
Only
networking
one person
phrase.
today from, yeah, who you want to speak to. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I'm guessing, Anushka, you also love networking.
Yeah.
If you had to give a piece of advice when it comes to putting yourself out there or networking, what would that be?
Don't be shy. I think if you're shy, people pick up on it. And then there's only so far your conversation can go. And I think a side effect of being shy is you overthink every small thing. If you start overthinking things in networking, it will just never happen because you'll be like, oh my God, those people are in a group of 6. Like, should I go and like just butt in and be like, hi, I want to talk to you? That's step one. If you're shy, you just would be like, nah, like I'd rather not. Or if you do end up going, you'll just read into like every silence. You'll be like, oh crap, like there's dead air. Do I need to say something? Does someone need to say something? Like it's not that dense. It's not that deep. If you're just not shy, everyone there is an unknown stranger to somebody or the other in the room. So there's really nothing to be shy about. Just go. If it's a good conversation, great. Now you've made a friend. And if it's not a great conversation, it's fine. It's like 2 minutes of your life that I'm sure you can make back. And that frankly, in like 6 years, you won't even remember. So my advice would be just don't be shy.
Were you shy growing up?
No, I was the polar opposite shy.
Wow.
I was a very like outgoing kid. I think, when I was in school, I get told that I really wanted to be the teacher's pets. I would have my hand up to answer every question. I just loved getting to know everyone around me. I wanted to know everything that was going on, even if I didn't necessarily need to. I wanted to speak to my teachers. In the park, I would go up to random kids and be like, yep, you're my friend. Like, let's play together now. So I think I was very outgoing as a kid. And I think that comes from how my parents raised me. They were really good at making sure I had a grasp of what the world has to offer, not being scared, not being shy, putting my hand up, helping people, just trying to be there.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was actually very shy growing up. So I was actually the exact opposite. But obviously, through time, definitely that was how I overcame it. And I believe people can overcome their shyness.
100%. And I mean, not that I can, but like flipping the question back to you, what did you do to overcome that, going from a shy kid to not so shy now?
I think it was the fact of me putting myself out there, and who's going to care? I mean, as long as I know within myself that, I'm here for myself and I believe in myself and I love myself. I mean, in terms of the fact that, everyone else is focusing on themselves. We're not going to remember this in a year time or two. And a podcast example of me, when I reach out to guests or, for example, like you, Anushka, when I reached out to you, it was more of a case of, I think you're great. You have an interesting story. I would love to get you on the podcast. But if not, then it's fine. It's completely fine. So I guess I've kind of gotten over the rejection and stuff. It takes experience and obviously lessons and learnings when it comes to dealing with failure. And just, I think once you overcome that, that kind of just builds your confidence. So now it's a case where, again, I'm exactly how you would describe yourself, Anushka, to the point where I would just happily, go to people. I love networking, putting myself out there in events and stuff as an extrovert. It's tiring, but if you want to get to the next stage, it's something that has to be done.
100%. Totally agree.
Yeah. Now, moving on to the next question, and that is, I'm very curious to know, Anushka, more about your other entrepreneurship ventures that you mentioned earlier, along with Breer. So, could you please tell us more about the travel company and the cosmetics brand that you have?
Yeah, for sure. So the travel app was called StayK, and it was born during the pandemic purely because now everyone was kind of reined in to be where they are, so you couldn't travel anymore. But that actually gave birth to the fact that locally we have so many amazing hidden gems that people just don't know about because you seek the thrill of travel to experience it. So, for example, for us in Hong Kong, like a lot of people didn't know we had wakeboarding providers. So you would go to Thailand, you would go to Indonesia to do wakeboarding, but actually it's right here in our city.
Yeah.
And the flip side of it was also that these providers are all, unfortunately a little bit aged. And so they don't have the digital literacy that maybe all of us do. And so where we can just Google stuff and find experiences on the internet, they just didn't know how to set that presence up for themselves. So StayK came in as the app that would help them list themselves on a digital platform. So they have that digital footprint that people can find them through, but then at the same time, help them get business. And the most important thing that we did is we flipped the business model on its head. So traditionally in these booking platforms or in these travel apps, you charge the vendors a commission. And so we would charge, like, let's say me and you booking the experience would be whatever the fare would be. And then a portion of that will be kept by the company, and then the rest goes to the vendor. So we flipped that where we were like, why don't we charge the people who have the spending propensity to actually pay? So we would charge the fee onto the customer's end and give every vendor 100% of the service fee that they would be charging anyway. And so we wanted to just change that narrative and that model. So did that. I was actually in the tech capacity there. I was the CTO of that app. So built it from scratch,
Nice.
which was pretty cool. It was like my first real world application of my electronic and computer engineering degree. So did that, and then it got acquired by a group that now uses it under their own umbrella. So not really involved with it anymore, but it was like a quick learning experience. So that was StayK. And then Ssome Cosmetics is basically born because of my passion to reduce food waste. So while I was working on Breer, I realized that unfortunately, food isn't the only thing that's wasted. We also end up wasting a lot of fruit peels and a lot of flowers. So if you go to temples and churches, people offer flowers and then at the end of the day, they're thrown away because there's no other use for them. Or similarly, when bakeries decorate cakes, they'll decorate it with the fruit but throw the peels away. And so I thought, why not collect both of these materials and use that to make 100% sustainable organic skincare that people can then use? And it comes from literal source of nature, like the natural wrapping that the world has. And so it's not needing of preservatives. It doesn't need to be highly processed. So it's extremely good for you using things that you would otherwise use in your life anyway. And so that one's a little bit newer, only properly like launched it last year, focusing on
Congratulations.
thank you. Building the brand and getting the word out there. But sometimes I just feel like I don't have enough hours in a day. Like I want to do so much of this, but it's just tough to do everything. So I guess it serves as a reminder that I need to push harder and push that one out too.
How do you manage your time with your businesses and also your Bollywood business you mentioned earlier as well? How do you manage your time with all of that?
It's hard because I think sometimes I have these pockets and I'm living through that pocket right now where I feel like I'm just so exhausted and then all I want to do is not work. So like
Yeah.
go home and like eat my favorite food and like watch TV shows or like watch YouTube. And so I'm in that phase right now. And I think it gets hard to kind of whip yourself back into like, no, no, let's go to go, go, go mode. I don't know. I just try and take it one day at a time. Each like day is 24 hours and you choose how to spend those 24 hours. To your earlier question, one of the things I'm huge on is that I don't want to have any regrets. And so I never go to bed thinking like, oh, I wasted this day or I didn't maximize this day. I let it be as is. Like if it was a rest day or a chill day, it's fine. It was a rest day, a chill day. We all need that. But then there are certain things that just keep you going. And frankly, working on all of these things keeps me going. So maybe a day I would chill and I wouldn't think about any of this, but the next day I would wake up and be like, actually, I need to do this. Actually, I want to do that. Actually, I should do this. And it's just because I purely at the core of my heart love what I do for these ideas. And that's why I do it. Otherwise, I feel like I would have given up 5 years ago.
Where do you see yourself in 5 years' time?
I actually have no idea. So I think in 5 years' time, I hope I'm living in a different part of the world. I kind of just want to keep exploring the different areas we have in the world, building cultures, building community, building network. I hope I would have ventured into something that has more of a technology, technical application, because I think that's a part of me that I fully haven't maximized yet. I hope I am I don't know. I hope I'm just like breaking barriers or boundaries in some way, shape, or the other. And hopefully I'm able to inspire people to do the same, maybe mentoring them. But yeah, I just hope I'm close to the impact mission that I have and I'm able to create new opportunities that right now seem too far fetched.
I'm sure you will be doing all of that in 5 years' time.
I manifest too. So 100% agreed. We can catch up 5 years from now and be like, oh, did it
Yeah.
or did it not happen?
And then this is how it's been. Amazing. So we have two more questions left, Anushka. And the second last question, you pretty much covered this, but I'm so keen to know. And that is, as of today, what are you up to nowadays?
So one big thing is that new Bollywood business that I was mentioning. That's been super fun, very quick, kind of random, but it just ended up happening. I'm a big Bollywood buff, and it just made me sad that there weren't enough ways to watch Bollywood movies in Hong Kong. And if there were, they were super expensive. Now working directly with the distributors and my partner Arnav, the both of us are trying to bring these movies to Hong Kong, and he's a huge movie buff, so learning a lot about it from him. I'm trying to continue to scale Breer. We're looking to launch in India, which I'm super bullish on, so very excited for that to happen. We are also going to be launching in Vietnam, so doing that. Ssome Cosmetics, I want to push and like make it happen. Just need to think of like what's the best go to market strategy for that. And then I am working on like a little bit of a side project that's more in like the tech space. It's still very, very early days, but I'm hoping that picks up and that starts to do well as well. So just trying to keep my brain as engaged as possible. And then not to say exploring the new city that I'm in, exploring New York, traveling, meeting friends. So yeah, just lots of new stuff.
Very exciting stuff, Anushka. How long have you been living in New York so far?
I came here in March this year, so not long.
Awesome. Very, very cool. I do have two last questions because you mentioned that you love Bollywood. So, Anushka, I'm very curious to know what is your favorite Bollywood movie and your favorite Bollywood song?
Okay, I love that. My favorite Bollywood movie is Welcome. For the OGs who know, they will know. And when it was released, I watched it in the cinema with my entire extended family. And I just have this vivid memory of laughing out loud to the point where my entire family was like looking at me at the end of the show, like, what happened to this girl? I love that movie. To this day, I can rewatch it a number of times. It's just like a low, not logic, heartfelt comedy movie. And my favorite song is Desi Girl.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I should say Daisy Boys is mine, but mine's Dust Bahane, actually.
Oh, OG. That's
Yeah,
also OG. Yeah.
OG. Yeah, I think my favorite Bollywood movie might be Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gum just because of the
Okay.
band. Yeah,
Fair enough. Hopeless
yeah,
romantic vibes, but meets quality Bollywood. That's where
yeah,
that's where you at. Yeah. Fair
pretty
enough.
much all old school.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anushka, thank you so much for joining me here today on the Go at Manav. For people who would love to get in touch with you to learn more about you, what would be the best way for them to do that?
Probably Instagram. My Instagram username is Nushikles. That's Nushikles.
Amazing stuff. And for those watching right now, make sure to like and subscribe. A new guest will be on soon. Thank you, Anushka, for joining me here today, and see you soon.
See you.